Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Andrea Valim on the show with us. Andrea, thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you inspired to adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle?
Well, I was born and raised in Brazil, and everybody knows that Brazil has that healthy lifestyle. It's part of our culture, right? We have beach, so everybody wants to look fit. Everybody wants to look good. So I was born and raised there, and I was always around that culture. And when I was in university and I wanted to do a little bit of a side job to make a little bit of money, then I got into modeling, actually. And that's what got me more into health and fitness. I wanted to take care of my body image. I wanted to look fit and feel confident. So that's how I got into it. But it was not at the extent that it is now.
Yeah, and I always gotta say, when I heard that you were Brazilian, I was like, oh, she's probably a model, so I guess I was right, because Brazilians just have that culture of just being absolutely beautiful and just being model.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So when you were starting out being a model, what was your diet sort of like when it came to the nutrition? Because obviously when you're into health and fitness, your nutrition is going to be probably a little bit more different than your modeling, but what was that nutrition like for modeling?
Well, I was a promotional model, and to be honest, I didn't know a lot of nutrition at the time. So what I did is basically I found a lot of information online, and I saw a lot of people around me doing things. So I started mimic what they were doing. So I would be eating a lot more protein, such as chicken and grilled. I stopped eating deep fried stuff. I stopped eating bread, and I would bring it with me to university, just sweet potatoes and egg whites for snacks. So I just started with small things, but I wasn't focused in what I needed and how much I needed. But immediately, just making little changes, it made me feel a lot better, and it gave me quick results.
Absolutely. So when you were sort of making that transition, at what point did you decide, other than modeling, that you wanted to adapt, more of the weight training, you want to do more of that lifestyle? Was there a certain moment, or was it just an accumulation of like small things that you all of a sudden said, hey, I really want to, get in shape better and start lifting?
There was something. My father and my brother were both high belts in martial arts and karate, and I grew up watching them going to competitions, but I never felt that was my thing. So when I started eating a little bit healthier and going to the gym, I really fell in love with it, and I thought maybe that could be my thing. I fell in love with lifting weights and how it made me feel stronger, more energy, and I always had such a busy life. I was a pharmacy student, so running around and trying to get everything done, I found that at the gym, when I was pushing myself, it was my happy place.
Yeah, we get that a lot. It's just a huge, especially with the endorphin boost that you get, it's really just such a positive thing to do. But one of the things that I love to sort of point out is that if you were to go to a gym with, let's say, 100 people in the gym, you're going to get 100 different answers as to how people got healthy and fit, whether it comes to their nutrition, how many reps they did, what sort of exercises they did. Was that hard for you starting out to sort of find out what individually worked best for your body?
Not really, because when I started out in Brazil, I had a personal trainer right off the bat, and maybe that's why I became a coach as well. But I knew if I was going to take that seriously, I needed that accountability. So I got a personal trainer right away, and I let them take care of all my workouts, and all I did was just go there and make sure I got everything done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of people don't have that, so it's so awesome that you had your own personal trainer. So at what point in your journey did you decide that you wanted to compete?
Oh, that was later. It was only about a year and a half ago, so beginning of 2017. End of 2016, I was living in a small town in Canada, and I was bored. I was very bored, and I'm the kind of person that I need to be constantly challenged. So I decided I really love the gym, and I thought that competing would be my next step. This small city, there was a lot of people there that looked like competitors, and I was curious. I was wondering, why these girls look like this? What are they up to? So I started asking around in the gym. People compete bodybuilding here. It's pretty common, but not in Brazil. So then I decided, yes, that's going to be my next challenge. And in the beginning of 2017, when I came back from Brazil and Spain, when I came back from traveling and I got it all out, I'm like, now it's time to grind. So that's what I did.
So going back a couple of years, what made you want to move from Brazil all the way up to Canada?
At first, I was in pharmacy school in Brazil, and there was an opportunity for an international exchange program. It would be paid by the government, so I thought, why not? And I could choose the country that I wanted to go, and what made me choose Canada was simply because my father has been here, and he lived here for 3 months, and he thought it was amazing, the people was amazing, the culture, so he convinced me to go to Canada, and it was supposed to be just for a year, but after being here and seeing how everything is and how life is so much better, then I decided to come back after that year, and that's where I am.
So what was your first winter like, though, in Canada? Because obviously you don't get that type of temperatures in Brazil. What was that experience like for you?
Horrible. I was not prepared for winter. I had no idea what snow felt like. And I thought, I remember I got here December 31st, 2013, so pretty much New Year's Eve, and I had flip-flops and a small yellow bodysuit. That's what I was wearing for New Year's, and I had no clue that I needed to wear socks and boots and a jacket. Nobody told me anything, and that day I almost lost all my toes.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I always tell people, I mean, I'm up in Minnesota, which is, we get the same temperatures as we do in Canada because we're right in the middle. So, I mean, I had one time where my car keys, when I was putting them in the ignition, they broke because it was so cold that the car keys literally just snapped. And wow. It's just, yeah, it's a whole different lifestyle. So I love talking to people from other countries who don't experience that cold climate. We've had some people who, I mean, they're even people from like Texas or California, they come up here and they'll try to wear like short sleeve shirts when it's like that temperature out, and we're like, okay, yeah, just go outside for 2 minutes and then tell me how you feel. So it is just a huge adjustment. And when it came to also working out, one of the things that we always like to say up in Minnesota is that you only got to really look good 6 months out of the year, because the other 6 months you're like I am now, you're in a sweater and you don't really, I mean, you're not really showing off too much. But being in a country like Brazil, where you said there's beaches everywhere, and I mean, everyone just seems to be in great shape, was that a different structure for you when you were coming here to sort of realize that it was more of a laid-back culture-wise, where you aren't necessarily need to be like as show-offish as you might have need to be in Brazil?
Definitely. And when I got here, because it was winter, I couldn't go outside as much, and I didn't want to, and I was always wearing clothes. So what happened is that what happens to a lot of people that comes from warm countries, I gained 50 pounds.
Wow.
In the first 6 months. And it's easy to gain all that weight when you're eating differently, when you're trying new foods, when you're not doing as much activity, and when you are not looking at your body as much.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And what would you say is the difference between Brazilian food and Canadian food?
I would say that Brazilian food, it's more complete in terms of nutrients. So you have a plate of food for lunch, and there will be salad and rice and vegetables and meats and beans. So everything together. Whether here, people for lunch usually will go to a restaurant or a pub and order a sandwich or something like that, which is really different. And then also in Brazil, usually we have breakfast for dinner as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's all those different traditions, which I love. But there is that stereotype that Canadians tend to be the nicest people on the planet. Has that been your overall experience dealing with other Canadians, that they are generally very, very nice?
No.
No?
No. Not at first.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I think once you get to know them a little bit better, but yeah, at first I can totally understand that, yeah.
Actually, at first, when I moved here and I didn't know a lot of English, I suffered a lot of discrimination.
Oh, yeah.
A lot, you know, not because of my color. I mean, I'm a quarter black, but mostly because in a small city, people didn't have a lot of contact with people from different cultures, so they weren't very tolerant with me. But I learned the rough way. I try not to take it personally, because I know that it's not people's fault that they don't get a chance to experience other cultures. Sometimes it's just not their priority, or they just can't, right?
Yeah.
So at first, people weren't nice to me. They were very intolerant. But then once I started learning more English and learning more about the culture, either I started understanding more or people started being nicer to me. But now I don't feel that way anymore.
And I was going to say, too, probably with the smaller towns, it's probably a different, like, if you were in a huge town, that might be different because they usually have a lot more diversity and they have more contact with people from other cultures. But yeah, small towns, I mean, my dad grew up in a town of like 200 people, and I grew up in a town of 80,000, so that's a huge difference when it comes to, you know, the contact you might get. So I definitely think that definitely played a role. But I've always liked to know, as someone, I speak another language, I speak German, I learned it all throughout high school and college. When it came to speaking English, what was the hardest thing for you when adapting English?
The hardest thing? The slangs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the slangs and how fast people would talk using slangs. It's really hard for me to understand. And my English is still not perfect, and I don't understand 100%, but I've learned a lot.
Oh, absolutely, and that people don't realize that there's so many different accents, too, when it comes to English. I mean, for all the countries that they've been in, and even in America in and of itself, there's about 17 or 18 different accents. And in Canada as well, I mean, all the A's at the end and everything, it's a huge thing that even I don't understand. But yeah, English can be very, very hard in and of itself. And I mean, coming from a Portuguese background, is Portuguese at all similar to English when it came? Were there any things that you could take from Portuguese that really helped you with English?
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're completely different. And some people think that Portuguese is similar to Spanish, but they're also completely different languages. And I speak all three of them. So definitely it was easier to learn English than it was to learn Spanish. But English there's so many words that mean the same thing.
Yes.
You know?
Like, one of the big examples I always like to do is, like, through. Through has, like, 3 different meanings if you use it, and it's spelled completely different ways, and there's words that are also spelled the same that mean totally different things. It's one of the hardest things. And I did, you know, I always, until you told me that, so I actually learned something new myself. I always thought that Spanish and Portuguese sounded similar, but one of the things, Spanish and Italian are actually the ones that I was actually thinking of that sound similar. Because I had a girl on here that was from Italy, and then she's like, yeah, Spanish and Italian people, they can somewhat understand each other and almost hold a conversation where it's similar, but yeah, Spanish and Portuguese, I mean, even though they're two countries that are right next to each other, they have completely different languages, and that's just a whole different thing. I mean, most people don't realize that is very different. But now going back to sort of your competing, when you were doing your first show, we love to hear first prep stories because people don't understand. I mean, when you're getting in the workout and you're starting the training, the nutrition aspect is huge, but when you go into prep, that's notching it up a whole different level, and it's just making it even harder. What was that experience like for you doing your first prep?
My very first prep. I didn't know exactly what I was going for. Definitely from the beginning, I was committed and I developed consistent habits from the beginning just because it's the kind of person I am. So I wasn't just, playing around and waiting for it to get closer and then getting more serious as I got closer. No, I was serious from the start. But as I was getting closer, I realized that there were certain things in my life that I needed to sacrifice in order to continue on that journey.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a huge mind game when it comes to the prep and the diet. How long was your first prep? How many weeks did you do it?
My first prep was 12 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's about an average one that we definitely get. And I always like to say, I mean, this is a completely different scenario because a lot of people that we have on are a lot paler. I mean, you can see myself, I'm a very pale person. When you were putting that tan on for the first time, what was that feeling like? Because we get a lot of people on here that say, like, you see muscles that you never thought you had. It's just a huge like, shock. What was that experience like for you the first time putting that tanner on?
I thought it was really weird. First of all, being from Brazil, tanning in general, for me, is kind of weird. But that was a whole new level of tanning. I looked like a statue afterwards, and it stinks, it smells. But you're right. The reason why they do that exaggerated color is because once they shine the stage lights on you, you look kind of normal, and then you can see your muscle definition way better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically German and Norwegian, so if they were to shine the stage light on me without the tanner on, I would just be I would blind everyone too, just because like it would just reflect off and cause yeah. So it's one of those things where I completely understand. And I have a lot of upcoming bands on the podcast, as well as a lot of health and fitness guests. And I sort of like to ask the same question. For bands, it's what is that feeling like for you performing live in front of people? But for health and fitness people, especially competitors, what is that feeling like for you personally when you get to step on stage and, show off all that hard work? Because it can be such a hard job getting into that stage presence and that stage shape. What is that feeling like for you when you get to step on the stage?
Every time and every stage is different. But what I can say is that once I step on stage, I just embody my inner Beyonce, and I feel like amazing. I feel that's my place, and I want to go there and show my best performance. I want to entertain, and I want people to see how much work I put into it. So I see it from an entertainer point of view, and definitely that's where I shine my best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things where you just get that huge rush from the crowd, and it's just amazing. But what was your experience like wearing those heels, too? Because I know for a lot of people, that can be very difficult wearing those heels and walking on. Had you had a lot of experience in heels, or was it something that you really had to adjust to?
I've always wore heels everywhere. That's a Brazilian thing. We dress up a lot more than Canadians, actually, especially in the big city. So I didn't have a problem with the heels itself. What I had a problem with was with the walk. Stage walk is different, and I remember my first posing coach telling me, giving me some feedback and telling me, stop walking like you're in a grocery store and walk like you're performing, like you're in a runway. So it took me a lot of work to get that walk right.
I'm surprised to hear that, because generally when you think of South Americans, or Central Americans too, you think of people that just have that flair in their natural walk, especially with like the dancing and just the culture. So yeah, that is surprising to hear, but yeah, I could definitely get it. Do you think that also being a model before and sort of maybe having to do your model walk was maybe a little bit different, or that did cause sort of a conflict because they are two different things?
When I was modeling, I was actually promotional modeling, so I would just promote for other brands. So I never did I did a few runways, but I didn't like it that much.
Yeah.
I think it's very different, and also, yes, although I can dance very well and everything, I was always really clumsy walking. When you're bodybuilding and you're working out and you're working out your legs, you're tightening up your muscles, right? So if you're not stretching properly, that's going to impact your walk as well, because you're not going to be extending your legs all the way. And at first, in my first prep, I was really terrible at stretching.
I mean, there's so many things that people don't talk about that really can, make or break, especially competition. And another one is posing. What was your experience like posing? Because a lot of people, that's a lot of people's hardest thing. The nutrition and the weight training is not as hard as posing for a lot of people. When you were starting out with posing, what was you'd say is the biggest difficulty that you had with it?
Holding the poses was really hard. I felt really weird doing it because it's not a natural pose. Although it looks natural and it looks effortless when you're watching it, when you're doing it, you have to do everything very exaggerated, and it's not natural. Creating that flow in between poses, it's really hard because, yes, what mandatory poses you have to do, but then you have to add your own twist, and that twist is something that only you can have. And that's why some people are made for this sport and others aren't, because they just don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's another huge thing that we always talk about is genetics do play a huge role. But one of the most important questions I love to ask all the people that we have on that compete is, some people don't realize that when you guys are on your stage, you sort of manipulate your body through all the dieting and all the working out into looking a way that isn't sustainable. Like, you're not going to look this way 365 days a year, and a lot of people don't understand that. How's that process been like for you, sort of being able to convince yourself, like, it's okay that I'm going to put on weight? Because we have a lot of people on here that really struggle with that, where they have to like mentally say, I know I've worked my butt off to look the way that I look right now, but it's not sustainable and I am going to have to put on weight. Was that difficult for you at first, and how did you sort of deal with that?
The thing is, a lot of people get into competing because they're not confident. So they're seeking to look a certain way and to get that validation from the sport and from the judges or whatever, right? But for me, from the beginning, it wasn't about that. I can say that I've always had a very uh, self-confidence. So going with that mindset helped me not getting sucked into those negative patterns. What is what we call competitors blues. It's when after the competition, we struggle putting back the weight and looking the way we were supposed to look, because I know it's not sustainable, and I don't enjoy looking that way, and I don't enjoy feeling that way. But for me, what really helps me is as soon as I'm done with my competition, I need to have a plan. I need to know, I need to reverse diet. So slowly go back to normal so I don't gain a lot of body fat. I just slowly put it back. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to the gym and I'm getting stronger and I'm pushing myself. So it doesn't stop after the competition. So that's the biggest thing for you not to get sucked into it, is to have a plan for afterwards and to understand that even though you're not going to look lean and have abs all the time, you can do things at these times that you can't do when you're very lean. You can have a social life, you can have a relationship, you can pay more attention to your friends, you can tackle new challenges in business, and you can work out harder and grow. So if you feel positive about these things and you focus on what you can do instead of what you cannot do or maintain, then I think you'll be fine.
Absolutely. And you said that you were a pharmacy student. How would you describe, or how would you say that background has sort of benefited you when it comes to knowing a lot more about your body? Because knowing what your body can and can't do is so important in the sport. How do you think your background in pharmacy has helped you that way?
It definitely helped me understanding more about my physiology, about my anatomy, understanding about supplements and the role that they play in your nutrition. So I knew that all those things were important from the beginning. So that's how it helped me.
And one of the big myths that we love to bust, I mean, it has gotten better with Instagram over the last 5 years, I'd say, but some women still have this belief where if they touch one weight, they're going to just hulk out and become Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson overnight. They're going to put on 50 pounds of muscle and they're just going to be huge. I mean, it has gotten a lot better, but did you have that fear at all when you were starting out? And even if you didn't, when people come up to you I mean, I bet you've probably heard this before from women. What is your main response to that?
I did have that fear when I started in Brazil. I only worked out lower body because I thought the same thing. If I worked out my back or my shoulders or my arms, I'm going to look like a guy. But then when I decided to compete, I had so much more work trying to catch up with that part. And as I was doing it, I realized that my body was just becoming more proportionate and not manly at all. Because there's a certain ways and technique and strategies that you use to look exactly the way that you want to look, right? So definitely I would say it would be a lot of work and a lot of drugs for a moment to look like a guy.
I couldn't agree more. We get that. And I always like to tell the story. When I was in college, there was a girl that I hung out with a lot, and I started really getting into the health and fitness lifestyle, and she would always say, like, I want to go to the gym with you, but I'm afraid I'm going to get too bulky. I don't want to, get super huge. And then one night I finally just told her, I said, look, the amount of weight that your purse weighs that you carry around when we go to the clubs and we go out to eat weighs more than a lot of the dumbbells in there. And you're not getting big from lugging that thing around all the time. And that sort of finally convinced her. And then she came in. And it's just one of those things, too, where, like you said, once you start touching weights or start doing maybe upper body because you were doing lower body, it really does take the fear away. So it's all about just giving it a try. And I mean, it's like nothing bad could ever come from just trying that. And it is one of the most beneficial things that you can do. And one of the things that I found out personally when I started getting bigger and stronger, the one negative thing was that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. You're going to get asked, like, if we bring groceries home, I'm expected to lift and carry all the stuff in there. I mean, people just expect a lot of that from you. Have you had similar experiences like that where if people see you, obviously if they don't see you, like when you're in a sweater and then they notice that you do work out a lot, have you ever sort of got that where people just expect that you can lift heavy things and that you get asked for a lot of favors?
Yes, people ask me to help them move all the time and carry boxes.
Oh, yeah, that's what my entire summer's just stacked up with people ask, because I'm at that age now where everyone's moving out and getting their own places, so I get asked all the time. It is ridiculous, but it's gotten to a point where I realize that they kind of noticed the dedication that I put into the gym, so I do appreciate it. But another thing, and this is probably my favorite question to ask, and like I say, before I ask, this is a multi-million-dollar question or idea. obviously when it comes to being an in-shape woman and, having muscles, you have broad shoulders, dresses are not going to be your best friend, jeans are another thing that's going to be really struggling with. What are some ways that you find to sort of compensate for the fact that your clothing options are limited as opposed to a different woman?
Well, I do wear a lot of leggings. Jeans, they're not a thing anymore. I cannot wear jeans. So you just have to buy clothes that fit your body. And I would say that this is a tip for every woman in any body shape. Why would you try to wear something that doesn't make you look good, that doesn't make you feel good, that doesn't make you feel comfortable? So when I started looking more like an athlete, and I realized that I could no longer wear jeans, I started wearing more leggings and having more sportsy look and dresses when I go out. So whatever makes you feel good and whatever makes you feel confident, right?
Like I said, if anyone's like ever coming up with like a dress for like fit women, that's a multi-million-dollar idea. So definitely get into that. I mean, I can't believe they haven't come up with something like that already, but definitely look into that. And when it comes to your post-show, what is your go-to post-show meal that you like to have right after your shows?
A burger. Yeah, I think that's the thing that I crave the most when I'm in prep. But when I'm not in prep, the funny thing is that I don't crave burgers at all. And I believe it's just because of the hormonal imbalance in your brain. All of a sudden, you're craving more fat. So, you can't be left alone with a jar of peanut butter. And you're craving fatty food, like burgers and chicken wings. So that's exactly what I wanted after my competitions. I just wanted to have a burger with some sweet potato fries.
What's your favorite place to get a burger at?
Here in Calgary, it's Five Guys.
Oh, thank God for saying. We have one right where I live too, and that's my favorite. I mean, I limit myself to probably like once every 2 weeks, just because I like to stay healthy. Once every 2 weeks, I'll go and get a Five Guys. But yeah, that burger, it is. I can't even describe. Like I'm even getting watery now just thinking about that, and I want to go and have one.
Me too.
Yeah, I can't even. And then the amount of fries that they give you, though, I mean, it's like they want you to get fat. I think they give you way too many damn fries. I don't understand it, but yeah, Five Guys. Oh, it is so good. And are there any places near where you live that sort of bring that Brazilian cuisine? Because when I think about it, not many places. I don't think I've ever heard of a place that has Brazilian specific food. Are there any near you?
Oh, yeah. Here in Calgary, we have 3 Brazilian barbecue restaurants, and they're very good. And that's one of the foods that sometimes I crave, too. And basically what it is you pay for, and you have access to a whole buffet of Brazilian foods, and then the waiters will come to you with swords, and there's meat in the swords, and like there's a large variety of meat, and they keep coming until you can't eat anymore.
Yeah, that sounds unbelievable, absolutely. So at what point did you decide that you wanted to help out others and become a coach?
It was when I started my first prep. I had about, maybe 700 followers on Instagram, and I've always been really open with my journey, and I found that being alone, and when I mean alone, I mean no family, in Canada, I just wanted to feel like I was talking to somebody, so I started sharing my journey. I started sharing my journey and what I was doing and everything that I was doing and feeling, and I felt that people was really relating to what I was saying. So I started growing and growing and growing, and that's when my journey it wasn't about myself anymore, not just myself, and it started being about other people overcoming their own insecurities and me representing it and being a beacon and a safe place where they could talk and share and learn together. So that's how I decided that I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to help people, because if I could do it with all the challenges that I've had in my life, being a foreign in a new country, not having any family, and I came from a very humble family and learning English, they could do it.
Yeah, and your story is just such a huge inspiration. But what would you say is the biggest excuse that you usually hear from clients who don't want to adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle? What would you say is the biggest excuse they give?
The biggest excuse that I hear is, I'm too busy. And what I think about that excuse is, you are too busy to do the most important thing in your life, which is to take care of yourself. There's no way you're too busy to love yourself. And it's a downward spiral. When you're too busy to take care of yourself, you don't do anything to make yourself happy, and then you're just a negative person, and all your interactions are shallow or negative, and you don't even like looking at the mirror because you don't feel proud of yourself, and then you keep living day by day like that. How much better it would be if you just did one thing that would change all of it, and that one thing is to do something for yourself.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, you put it so perfectly, and I always like to say we've had people on here that work 12-hour shifts like nurses or doctors, and they still find time. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, and it's just all about how you use them. I mean, it's just all about the priority set as well. And when it came down to sort of helping out people, when you got into the personal training or online coaching and helping out people, did you find that overall help motivate yourself even more in your own workouts, knowing that people were in a lot worse shape than you were, and it kind of served you as a motivation to keep that positive image out for them?
Definitely, 100%. I always tell my clients that they motivate and inspire me as much as I do for them, because to see them having results and evolving and progressing, it holds me accountable as well to be a good example. So I always say you have to lead by example. You have to be that person, and walk the talk. And that's how they inspire and motivate me so much, because everybody has good and bad days, and that's not exclusive to just regular people. Athletes have that too, and digital influencers have that too, and I have my days too. But when I have those days, I always think about everybody that is around me, everybody that is in my life, and all what my clients are doing and pushing themselves, and that pushes me to be better too.
That really is what it's all about. So now we go to our audience favorite and my personal favorite portion of the podcast, the questionnaire, where I'm going to ask Andrea here about a dozen or so questions, and we're going to see how she stacks up to all of our other health and fitness guests. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song at the moment?
My go-to workout song?
Yeah, that you like to listen to the most when you work out.
I would say anything from Excision.
Ooh.
I know, I like that kind of music, really heavy, really hard. It really motivates me.
Yeah, I do like the old school sort of like Metallica or all those like metal bands. But now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could work out with any celebrity, who would it be?
The Rock, for sure.
Yes. I gotta say, you're like our 45th health and fitness guest. 41 of them have chosen The Rock. So he is by far, our most popular answer. How he might be the one person that has more than 24 hours in the day, because how he gets all that stuff done and still gets a workout in, I have no idea how he does it. I don't know what secrets he has. It's just so inspiring to see that. But now, out of all the celebrities on the planet, if you could train any celebrity, who would it be?
If I could train somebody, I don't have an answer for that, for a specific person, but I would train someone who has a lot of potential but is not in good shape.
Yeah. For me, I would just say like a Kevin Hart or something like that. But the only problem
I was thinking about him, actually.
The thing is, though, is that he's our most popular answer. But the problem with that would be we wouldn't be able to get a workout in because I'd be laughing the entire time. He'd be too funny. I get the best ab workout of all time, but that would probably be the only thing. It's just, that's just a whole different thing. But being from Brazil, who is your favorite Brazilian celebrity?
My favorite Brazilian celebrity, her name is Angelica Teixeira. Oh. She's not a celebrity, but she is Miss Olympia.
Yeah, she's awesome. I was gonna contact her in a little bit, in a couple of days, to see if she wanted to come on. So we'll see how that works out. I was surprised that you didn't say like a Gisele Bündchen or something like that, being Brazilian. But yeah, whenever I think of Brazilians, I always think of her basically because she's just so huge in basically everyone's minds. But what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
Chicken breast.
Chicken breast. Yeah. Is there any specific place that you get it from? Do you like to go organic, or you just like to go to Costco?
I have a meal prep sponsor.
Oh, okay.
Harbor Meals here in Calgary. They are amazing, and they provide me all of my food and all of my chicken breasts as well.
All right, everyone, I'll leave a link down below for Harbor Meals. Everyone go and check those guys out. So other than your chicken, that's a huge thing. I have probably eggs is probably going to be my answer. But what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
I am a vanilla person.
Yep.
Pretty basic.
Hey, vanilla is great too. I used to love vanilla as much. Now I'm a cookie dough blizzard kind of guy. If you go to Dairy Queen, I don't know if you have them up in Canada.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, to die for. I mean, once a month I go and have one. I mean, I had one like 3 days ago, and believe me, my stomach is still feeling the after effects of that because they're just so heavy and everything. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite. And now, what was the last TV show that you binge watched?
The Mystery of the Hill House.
Ooh.
It's a new one, and it's a horror, and it's a perfect season for it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I gotta ask, being that it is coming close to Halloween, is there a different way that Brazilians celebrate Halloween than people in North America do?
We don't celebrate Halloween in Brazil. It's a North American thing. But I am celebrating here in North America, and I'm dressing up as a ninja this year.
Ooh. Yeah, I know, because I was just wondering, because like in Mexico, they have like the Day of the Dead thing where it's kind of similar to Halloween. So I was like, oh, do they have anything? But yeah, in Brazil, they don't celebrate Halloween. So we learn some new stuff with every podcast, everyone. What is your favorite TV show of all time?
Friends.
Yes. Now, you're going to be shocked. I've announced this plenty of times, but November 12th, you know the lady that played Ross's first wife, Carol?
Yes.
She's coming on the podcast. I've been talking to her because she started a charity, and I told her, and I said, you know, I'd really love to have you come on the podcast and talk about your charity. And then she said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, you do realize half the questions I'm going to ask you, though, are going to be friends questions, right? She goes, oh, yeah, I get that all the time. So November 12th, she's coming on, and then I'll have it up probably a week later. I'll send you a link to that because everyone wants that, because that's going to be a great episode, I think. I mean, and I'm going to ask her all the questions that people want to really know about Friends. So that's going to be great.
For that.
Yeah. For me, Friends and The Office. Those are the two that are tied, basically. One day I'll have The Office, and one day it'll be Friends. It's really a tie. But what is a guilty pleasure? Yeah, absolutely. What is a guilty pleasure movie that you enjoy?
Well, secretly, I like all the Disney movies and cartoons and anime as well.
Yeah. What's your favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney movie is Finding Nemo.
Oh, yeah. That is a great one. Mine, I mean, I am lucky that I was actually born on the same date The Lion King was released in theaters, so that's my favorite. Then, I mean, it's The Lion King. It's great. But my guilty pleasure,
classic.
Yeah, my guilty pleasure movie, my ultimate date night movie as well, is The Princess Bride. I could watch that movie 100 times. I mean, I know every word of it. It's one of those things. I'll never admit it to my guy friends that I love that movie, but if that movie's on, I will drop whatever I'm doing and watch it for sure. It's definitely up there. So what is one thing that you would die to have if it went up for auction?
There's nothing.
I don't mean like literally die to have, but like if you had like all the money in the world and everything went up for auction, what would be the one thing that you would want the most?
The one thing I would want the most would be a beach house in Brazil.
Oh, yeah?
They're very expensive, but if it went up for auction and I had all the money in the world, that's definitely something that I would get.
Absolutely. I'm a history major, so for me it would be like the Declaration of Independence or something cool like that, just to have that. That would be really, really cool. And what is one thing that you would change about the sport of bodybuilding or the competition lifestyle if you had the all-knowing power to do so?
I would change the way that people view themselves. I would change the way that people judge themselves. The sport is a serious sport, yes, but people get obsessed. And I'm all about balance, and I've spoken to big names in the industry such as Angelica Teixeira, Miss Olympia, and we talked about it, and she has a balanced life. So that's definitely something that I think it needs to change for the future of the sport. We need to have balance.
I couldn't agree. That's one of the huge things where people do get so obsessed, and a lot of it is because people think that if they lose weight or get in better shape that they'll feel better about themselves, but they don't realize that it's all mentally. If you feel good about yourself, it's all about accepting your flaws mentally. We've had people come on here who are like at 2 or 3% body fat, and they say like, I still don't feel as good about myself as I did, or as I did before I started losing the weight. It's all about, just looking in the mirror and accepting your flaws. And then also, I mean, the benefit of looking good too is that you look good, but you still need to feel good about yourself. I mean, just the biggest thing that I would also change too about it is just the extremes that people go to. Like you were saying, people go to so much extremes, and then you hear about these stories of like people dying at the age of 30 from like just taking a lot of things or just overtraining. It needs to be, I know there's no way to regulate it, but it's one thing that really I think needs to be. And also promoting a positive image, because you want to also inspire people. I mean, with the obesity epidemic, you really want to inspire people to adapt to a more healthy and fit lifestyle, which is one of the big things. And now for our final 2 questions in the questionnaire, if someone were to walk up to you on the street and say, wow, obviously you look amazing, I want to sort of adapt a more healthy and fit lifestyle, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give that person in order for them to be successful?
First, I would give them my business card and tell them, I can be your
Yep.
coach. But what I tell people usually is you have to develop a consistent habit. And once that is imprinted in your mind, you need to be accountable for yourself and have some sort of accountability in your life.
I couldn't agree more, and it's all about just taking that first step and getting started. I mean, people seem to delay workouts. Where I've even had times where I was like, if it's a Saturday or Sunday, I'll be like, oh, I'll start my training again on Monday just because it's a weekend. It feels better. It's just go now, get started now. If you feel like you can do it. I mean, some people obviously they're not in that mindset where they can accomplish that much, but it's just do it. If you have the mind power and if you have the willpower, just do it.
I talked about it actually in my previous post and my previous IGTV video, and that's exactly what it is. People tend to rely a lot on motivation, but you can't rely on motivation because you can't be just goal oriented, because once you get there, there's going to be other goals. So what you have to do is you have to develop those consistent habits so you can have discipline. And discipline is what's going to carry on your workouts, your eating habits, and it's going to get you out of bed in the morning when you don't have motivation. So motivation is great, yeah, like as you said, if you're feeling that pump, if you're feeling that willpower, then go and do it. Don't think about it. But once you develop habit, then it's more than that, it's discipline.
I absolutely, I couldn't agree more. It's so huge. And now, if you were to go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
I would tell her to stop worrying about how the outcome of things and enjoy the process of things and enjoy the journey and enjoy the in-between, because we don't have to always know the outcome of things. That's what I would tell myself from the past.
I would also say, don't be so much of a people pleaser, because I was back then. Realize that you're not going to please everyone, that there are going to be just something, and just accept that and just be around the people that you love and enjoy, because, I mean, like I said, you only have a set amount of time on this planet, so just enjoy it and live your life to the fullest is probably the biggest message I could have. But other than your family, what is the thing that you miss most about Brazil?
I miss the warmth of people. Yeah, I miss having conversations with no agenda, The relationships that you have with people there, they're very different than the relationships that you have with people here. And I miss that a lot.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, because we're a lot more of a consumer-based people where it's all about just about money, buying, and just I can see how that would be a thing. And I definitely feel that too, even sometimes when I'm talking to people, especially on this, where it's just about, how they can better themselves, where it's just, people just don't seem, especially nowadays, especially with phones and everything, to just have kind of like what we're having, just a face-to-face communication where it's just talking about stuff. That's one of the reasons why I really, really enjoy this podcast. So other than your Instagram, I mean, you're sponsored by a lot of things. Do you want to give a shout out to your sponsors and let people know?
Definitely. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to my team, Team G-Fit. We started working together not a long time ago, but they already invested so much in me. They're helping me so much becoming the woman that I can become. And with all the mentorship, with all the family, all the community, we all help each other and lift each other up, and we all help other people with their goals. So thank you so much, Team G-Fit, for making me part of the family. I want to give a shout out to my meal prep sponsor, Harbor Meals here in Calgary. Jared, Carson, thank you guys so much for having my back every single week. Every time I travel, every time I compete, they accommodate everything, all the details. So I'm really, really grateful for it. A shout out to my supplement sponsor, Beyond Yourself, here from Canada. They always send me amazing products, high quality, which is aiding my progress. And I always refer my clients to their products as well, because it's such high quality and it tastes really good. And to Popeyes, Calgary, as supplement chain here in Calgary. Always great customer service, always there for all my needs, my supplements, everything that I need. I can always find at Popeyes, and I can always find help, and I can always send my clients there, and I know they're going to be treated so well. So I'm so grateful for all of you guys that are part of my journey and part of my life.
Yeah, and again, I'll leave all the links down below for all those things. I highly recommend, if you're especially in the Calgary area, to go and check out that Popeyes and Beyond Yourself. I mean, they seem like they just have great quality products. I mean, if Andrea's representing them, I mean, you gotta realize that they are very, very good for you. So again, Andrea, we cannot thank you enough for coming on the show. And would you like to give a shout out to anyone in Brazil? And you can speak in Portuguese if you want to.
I will speak in English because
okay.
they can speak English too. But I want to give a shout out to my family, especially my brother and my dad, because they are the ones that inspired me to be an athlete. And my brother is younger than me, but I would say he's the best version of me. You know, he's the best person I know with the biggest heart. And one day soon, I will bring you all here so we can all be together again. So thank you for being always there for me and being my, my rock. My dad and my brother, you guys are my rock, and you're one phone call away, and sometimes they are the people that keep me sane.
Yeah. And hopefully you're not going to have your brother go through the same experience you did when it came to his first winter.
Oh, I wouldn't say anything. I would let him figure out by himself. Toughen him up, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you do develop that thing in the winter where you do get used to it eventually, and then when it gets warmer, I don't know. There's always something. I always enjoy the first day of spring when you get to like breathe the air again, actually, where you can actually like smell things instead of just having it be cold. That is definitely my favorite thing. But again, you guys, go and follow Andrea. She's super, super inspirational. Like I always say, if you follow her, it will inspire you to get off the couch and to stop, eating all those Twinkies, to adapt that more healthy and fit lifestyle. And again, you guys, this is DD on the Spot, Ryan Johnson signing out. Have a great day, everyone.